Welcome to ModiMakes.
What's good, everybody? My name is Modi, this is ModiMakes, and today I'm celebrating the creation of my 100th video for YouTube. And real quick, with that being said, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who watches, thank you to everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate all the support throughout this journey, and I really can't thank you enough. It is fantastic to everyone who leaves comments on the videos, and just it's amazing to have people who are down to go on this journey with me and watch my evolution on this path and everything, and who actually appreciate my art and want to see me create new pieces every single week. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you. So, with it being my 100th video, I wanted to do something a little bit special and ambitious today, and something that I've never tried before. Like last week, I'm going to be working on another large painting, and this one should be a ton of fun. Because for a long time, I've been seeing these paintings where people take a framed surface and then paint not only on the surface itself, but on the frame as well, and bring the painting outside of the canvas or whatever it is and make it into this more three-dimensional image. And I've been wanting to try that for myself for a long time too, and it's finally time to try that today. I'm gonna be working on this cork bulletin board type thing. The best part about this surface, and the reason why I chose it, is because it came with a nice wooden frame. So the first thing that we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna grab a thin metal scraper tool and use it to pop open one of the corners of the canvas so that I can pull out that cork board underneath. Not too bad at all. Then we take out that surface, and first I'm going to scrape off this cork board material that's on the one side, because it's a little bent out of shape and looks kind of bad, and it turns out that it's just a small cheap layer pasted on top of this many layered thick cardboard type material. After I'm done scraping all that up, I'm gonna flip it over on my spray table there and spray paint the entire thing with a flat black color, because I have some ideas for what I want this to look like later, and having a nice black background for all my colors to pop from later on is going to be perfect. The idea I had for this painting for the background is to make sort of a silhouetted bright red sunset coming out of the night sky. So the next thing that I've got to do is make myself a large circular stencil. So I'm just going to sketch out as perfect of a circle as I can and then cut it out using an X-Acto knife. After getting that stencil cut out, I'm just going to plop that right on top of the surface and grab a nice bright red spray color and just fill in that whole circle with the red. To bring in a little bit of texture into the final painting, I wanted to do a quick splattering of the black spray paint going over that red circle. Then after that, I'm just going to grab some foam board from one of my previous stencils that I used and use it as a stencil to create a flat line going across the bottom. This is just to make it a sharp edge so that it's nice and clean. And then I'm just going to spray everywhere below that line with that forested green color. And for the frame, because like I said, I'm going to be painting on the frame as well, I wanted it to not just be a wood texture on the areas that are unpainted. I wanted it to also be this vibrant, colorful area as well. So I'm gonna be grabbing that sweet yellowish lush green that I've been loving to use so much recently, and starting with a base coat of that over the entire surface of the frame. Now that we have a nice simple geometric landscape in the background, it's time to take this thing over to the studio to start some sketching. But before I can get into the sketching process, I wanted to address that back of the surface that I scraped the cork board off of, because it looks a little rough, and since this frame doesn't actually cover the back, I can't have it looking that bad. So I'm just gonna start off the process by painting that entire back of the surface black. It's still gonna have the texture in there, but it's gonna look nice with the black because it's gonna be a nice matte color that the texture will just come through a little bit, and it'll kind of look like a rocky surface or something like that from a distance. Now that I've completed that quick step just to make it a little bit nicer, it's time to get into that sketching process. So the character that I'm going for in in this painting is going to be called the Adventurer. And I chose this character for this video specifically because I wanted to talk about my choice to do YouTube and the adventure that I've been on here. It was not an easy choice to make in the beginning. It's a really scary thing to decide to do, but I wanted to find an extra way to get my art out into the world, and I wanted to push myself to create newer and greater paintings. And I think that creating these videos for you guys has really helped me achieve that. And so I wanted this character to be an adventurer wandering through the wilderness towards this giant mountainscape in the background looming over the sunset. The character itself is going to be standing right inside of that big red sun and pointing in two different directions down two diverging roads. That classic motif of picking your choice of which direction you want to go in life. And that talking about me deciding to go in this direction with YouTube and being an independent artist. And then from there, it's time to get into the actual Posca pen painting, the main part of the whole show for my channel. This one's gonna be a little bit different because I'm not going to be starting with the black line work like I normally do, because first I wanted to bring in those mountains from the background, and since the entire background on the top there is black, I can't just use black lines to mark out the areas where I want them to be. So I'm going to start by first just blocking in their colors on each layer, and it's going to be that effect of when you see a mountain range from afar and they each look like flat, lighter versions or darker versions of the colors in front and behind them, and just have that sort of atmospheric effect like you're looking at the landscape from very far away. Then we can come down into the area with the character, and since he has red and green behind him, we can actually use the Posca pen to mark out the first initial lines. So I'm just gonna be sketching over all of my pencil marks there and making sure I'm marking out the areas so that are a lot easier to see for me in the future when I'm doing my fills. Now that I've gotten all that line work solidified on there, I can get into the coloring process, just grabbing my Posca pens and filling up that character with all sorts of beautiful, colorful sections to keep it vibrant and interesting and give you a little bit of a sense of depth. Now that I've completed all of the main coloring sections, I can come back in for the final line work on this surface here. I'm going to start in the mountain range, and I wanted to make these mountains look a lot more rocky and rugged than they did initially. So I'm going to be coming in with an initial line to cover up the entire contour of each section of the mountain range, and then coming in again, bringing in extra thick and thinner parts in a rocky sort of ragged shape to give it a nice separation and also a little bit of depth, like there's a certain amount of shadows right on the contour line there. Then it's time to finally solidify the line work for the character as well. And so I'm going to be coming in with my PC5N and PC3M black Posca markers to get some thicker and some thinner lines in the areas where I think they're appropriate and where I need more detail or less detail or thicker contour lines in order to give it a certain amount of variation that I think is visually interesting, and also just make sure that every line is as clean as possible for this character, because you know I need that for my style. Now that I've completed all my coloring and all my line work for the surface itself, it's time to bring the frame back into the picture so I can work on that as well, the exciting part. So I'm just going to start by fitting that frame back around the surface, and then once I have it laid down on my table, I'm going to be filling in those areas for the mountains to go over the frame, because I'm going to be selecting certain elements to go over the frame and certain elements to stay within the surface and within the frame's borders themselves, so I can accentuate certain areas and give them more of a three-dimensional breaking the borders kind of feeling to them. So starting with all of those colors for the mountains and then coming back in with the black Posca pen again to finish up the line work and get everything lined up with the painting that is on the surface. And then I will come back down to the very bottom of the canvas where I want to have the shadow from the character standing there going over the frame as well, just giving that a simple black painting matching the lines that I've already set up for the shadow under his feet. Well, there you have it, my peoples. The adventure is complete, and this has been a really fun process for me to try out. I really enjoyed this whole process of working on the frame as well as the surface itself. You guys know I love to work on found canvases, or I mean, I can't even call this a canvas because it's not made out of canvas, but found surfaces, found objects that I have gathered in my travels, and just that enjoyment of painting on anything I can find and turning it into a lovely piece of art is one of my favorite parts about the materials that I use, and just one of my favorite parts about my job here. And I'm also really happy with the character design. I lean back into more of what I did with the Embrace, which is more of a landscape forward with a smaller character or set of characters in the bottom of the frame. Normally I go after a very character driven style, but I'm trying to push myself into different areas and see what I can explore, and doing these more landscape driven pieces allows me to do that. And I also am really happy with how the three-dimensionality of painting over the frame worked out. I think it's a very nice touch and just adds a little bit extra to the piece. But let me know what you guys thought of the piece down in the comments below, and let me know if you have any questions about this video or any other video I've made. I'll be happy to read through them all and respond to them personally, as I always do. And you know, if you like the video, go ahead and give me a like. That would be amazing. And if you like me, you like the channel, and you want to help support me, the number one thing that you can do is to subscribe. I really couldn't thank you enough if you did. It means the world to me. And with all that out of the way, and without further ado, let's get in those final shots, shall we?
Thanks for watching.